Welcome to Building Sustainability Podcast with me, your host, Jeffrey Hart, aka Jeffrey the Natural Builder. Every fortnight, join me as I talk to designers, builders, makers, dreamers and doers, exploring the wide world of sustainability in the built environment by talking to wonderful people who are doing excellent things.
Hello and welcome to episode 97. This is the second part of my conversation with Kirsty Cassels, where we discuss her time working as a joiner in TV and film. There's a little more discussion on the Prince's Foundation. We talk product certification and we talk workwear for women. I would consider this episode standalone, but you might want to listen to episode 96 first, as it might give you a bit more context. As always, if you'd like to support the podcast, there is a Patreon, patreon.com/building sustainability. You get all sorts of bonus audio. There's a video tour of my house and various other rewards for doing so. You'll get a shout out on this podcast too. Otherwise, please share the episode, as that also makes a huge difference. That is it from me. Back very briefly at the end. Enjoy.
Yeah, in TV land, I went in fully prepared. Like everyone said, Kirsty, you're going to hate it. It's a very interesting industry. I don't want to be too negative about it because I've just entered it. I think it's fair to say that if I thought construction industry was a little bit lagging, that industry is definitely behind the construction industry in lots of areas.
Like what sort of areas?
I would just say in all aspects, the industry is still running off of, or has been running off of, the way it's been done for years. And I think you can see in previous years that it's changing. You can see, I mean, this is a whole industry I know not a lot about, but even with that brief time spent in it, like the Me Too movement has come out of the industry changing. So I was interested, but I didn't want it to detract from my reason of being there. Was to develop my joinery skills. My reason for going there was to feel more confident using tools in a workshop. It was to learn from other people who had a totally different experience from me, and there would be multiple people there with multiple ways of doing things, learning the best ways and learning how everyone does it. I had so much to try and achieve personally from it that I wanted to put on hold that was the industry that I fancy being in. So therefore I need to get to grips with the sustainable aspect of things, or what happens. But I was intrigued and curious. So I did ask questions and I did go down a few rabbit holes, but I wasn't there to change it. That wasn't my place to change it. Mm-hmm. People have been in the industry a long time. They have a lot of experience and they're doing their best. And what I saw was there is a shift, and you can tell there's I almost think it's like a new generation. There's this new generation who aren't accepting that you can't recycle things, who aren't accepting I guess certain contracts and policies, who aren't accepting that's just the way we've always done it, who aren't accepting workplace banter. It's just changing. I could see, in having talked to people, that there's a lot of effort going into it. Yeah. Progressing and getting a bit better, but I couldn't officially comment on any of it because, but I would say that from a sustainability point of view, there is a lot that they could be doing, and I'm sure this was pure accident and because I was the trainee, but I actually got invited to be part of this green screen team, which was green screen. I know I may actually be doing them a disservice here, but I from what I remember, green screen has been set up in order to help productions create a greener production and reduce their carbon footprint. So I was intrigued to find out more about it. I was a little disappointed to see that a lot of the ticky boxy stuff was based on post-production, post-filming, or the production side of things as opposed to construction. It sort of seems like an odd world where everyone's aware that sets have to be built, but in cases where they aren't built, which I guess is a lot of different things, I guess you'd say documentaries don't need scenery, a lot of studio-based like interviews and things like that, like I guess quiz shows and things. But they don't much talk about the construction. It's all like make sure the photocopy is turned off at the end of the day, like let's swap out for vegware. It was very much based on like how to reduce the carbon footprint from the production side of things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I did point out that there are skip tons of waste going away from the construction side of things before they even start filming. And there's a huge conversation to be had and to be started around that sort of stuff. But it was nice to see that they were talking and engaging. So the sustainability side of things, oh, yeah, that was... If I'd let that get to me, I don't think I would have lasted a week. It's awful. Everyone knows it's awful. It's not like anyone even like is happy with it. It's not like anyone's even dismissive. They're all like, this is awful. But it's almost the way they've done things, or it's almost like coming from the top. And I challenged, I asked a few questions, and if I go back into it next year and the more ownership I feel over that industry, the more I will question it for sure, and the more I'll be myself, which is annoying. And sorry, I won't let it lie, but it's not my industry, and therefore I don't feel right pushing when I had a specific set of. I have a reason why I'm there in the construction department. I'm there in the carpentry department. I'm not there in the art department designing things. I'm not there in the production side of things making decisions. I'm literally there because I want to learn how to make sets. You're
sort of a visitor in their world.
Yeah, I know. And like a part of it. Like I'm a part of it, but I'm not like going to be someone that's trying to steer that industry. Mm-hmm. Like you figure out that's the industry you love. You love producing films and you love producing TV. So you figure that out. Whereas I love producing buildings. So I'm doing my bit in my world, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Totally. If they came into our world to make a film or, create a TV series, they would be respectful of that. So it's kind of this weird relationship I have with it.
Yeah.
But the production I was on do recycle most of their sets because it's this ongoing series, and so it was wonderful because you were like on the hunt for a window. You're like, no, there is a window. It was with that set. We think it's over there. Search behind the armory, and then go by the production offices. If you turn on the left. Right, you should find a door there. Behind that door is the window you're looking for. And you're like, awesome, okay. So I was quite pleased that in at least the production I was involved in, it was a really high level of recycling things, which was great. The actual carpenters hated it because once you've been made to take the same boat set apart, 9 times and put back together, and no one's labelled it correctly at any point during that process. And then they're like, oh my god, so they would rather have built it from scratch because it would have been quicker and easier. But hey ho, that's you gotta sacrifice something. So mentality and sanity is probably it. So yeah, I did do that, and I very much enjoyed it, and I very much enjoyed the team. And I would love to go back, and I'd love to do more of that, simply because I am surrounded by very talented people. Mm-hmm. And it did help my confidence a lot in that area.
Something I really enjoyed was your Twitter feed, where you put up what I've learnt this week.
Oh yeah, I did start that. I started doing that.
That was brilliant. I completely forgot. Just sort of,
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I should have kept that up. I completely forgot. I did. It was inspiration. Yes, because it actually was a huge struggle. For the first 3 months, I really struggled with it. Not the actual work, but just the whole thing. I was back to being a trainee. I was back to being treated like I knew nothing, which when you're in your early to mid 30s is kind of a bit difficult to do. And so it was a big deep breath, no one means any offense, no one's trying to get you just because you're the girl. They're not offering to help you because you're the girl. Calm down. I think 5 years ago that would have been a really difficult experience for me, and 10 years ago I could have done it. There were so many aspects of it that have only come with time and age that I learned a lot of patience, because it was there'd be things where you know the answer, or you think you know the answer, but you're the new girl. You're the new person. You can't that you don't, and so you'd stand there while people were trying to figure out, and then you'd be like, yeah, I said that, but like, but you said it too quietly, you know, and there was a lot of like, you know, bless them, there's like 40 guys, and like there's only been 2 girls so far, so you know, they just trying the best. Like it's probably the first point in my entire career so far that I have noticed the difference by being a woman. Everywhere else I've never really noticed. Everywhere else I already pals with them, I already know them, I have a similar sense of humor, it's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. And there I had to really fight myself and just be very patient and not do this thing of like proving myself. I had nothing to prove. I was like, to be honest, I'm here as a trainee. Everyone knows I'm here to learn. So I have nothing to prove to them or myself. I know I can do the job. They just need to make sure they know I can do the job. And once they know I can do the job, they'll trust me to do the job. You know, whereas 5 years ago, I reckon I'd have been like, no, like I can do that. No, of course I can do that. You know, you need, they don't trust me. They just think, you know, and yeah. So I think this has come at the right time in my life. I feel like I don't need to, like, I mean, also just, there's just some things I just don't want to do because I am a girl. Like I'm just not built a certain way, you know? Like I hate carrying sheet material. I hate it. Every time anyone's like, oh, because you can use that with sheet material, I'd be like, can you do it? Like I just like, you know, can I not do this job over here that you've deemed that you don't think I should do, but actually I would prefer to do that because I don't have to go and lift some OSB sheets, please. Like I just, you know, it's the silly things, but it's the thing, or like the asking for help thing. You know, they actually have stagehands whose job it is to help the carpenters, and that's beautiful. It was weird to begin with because you're so used to like going and getting your own screws, going and get the tool you need, cleaning up after yourself, and when you get somebody being like, Kirsty, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's
you don't have to clean up after yourself.
No, in fact, you get told off. You get told off. Why are you doing sweeping? You want to get me out of a job? Stop sweeping. And I'd be like, well, I'm just cleaning up. I'm just saying. No, there are people whose jobs are there to make the production faster, and part of that is to make the carpenter's job easier. But it's weird because you go in there as like a self-employed person that does everything, and then you've got minions. Well, they're not minions. If they're listening to this, they're going to kill me. They're not minions at all. In fact, they do so much heavy lifting, and they're the ones that like organize everything and take it away and label things and store them in the right. Like at some point, I was like, maybe I'd like to be a stagehand because actually, it's all about organizing everyone else. It's all about taking the things from the carpenters and making sure they get to the right place, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it's about being the support and the helpful, you know, and thinking 2 steps ahead so that you know what they want before they even want it. So actually, I have a huge amount of respect for them. I like them a lot, but I just found it odd because I'd never experienced that.
Yeah.
Ever before.
I can totally, understand why that would feel odd.
Took a long time to start actually putting sawdust on the floor on purpose. It's like, there you go, Tab.
It's my gift.
Yeah, tidy that up. Yeah. No, they're honestly, just even talking about it, such good times. It was such a struggle to begin with because it was a real difference. I mean, the commute, the daily physical nature of it, the time frame of it, they're very on time, the TV and film industry. It's all about you know, you cannot be late for anything. I mean, they run over, but you cannot be late, you know. It was a workshop mentality as well. So it's sort of like the tea breaks at 10, tools down, you know, tea breaks, lunch breaks at 1, and we're out the door by 5. You know, God forbid you go to the toilet at 2 minutes to 5, you came out, it would be empty. Like there'd be no one there. So all of that was odd. I had never experienced it. I'm very much coming from a natural building, you know, yoga before you start and, you know, and easy going and then all that. And so it was a culture shock as much as anything else. Yeah. And I did struggle, but after about 6 months, it started to, the tide changed, and I then really began to really enjoy it for what it was and appreciate everything that I got out of it. So yeah, hopefully I get to go back and do a bit more next year.
Nice.
But maybe not for 9 months, maybe just for a few months. But I definitely enjoyed it enough that I would love to go and do it again. It was a worthwhile experience.
Nice.
For sure.
Do you consider yourself now
transitioned from designer to maker, or do you feel like you've got a foot in both camps still?
I haven't. If you mean have I gone from one to the other? No, I do feel foot in both camps. I am both. I now feel like I am both, and I feel like one cannot exist without the other.
Right.
So
sort of left hand, right hand kind of.
Yeah, I am a designer, which goes into everything I build. I am a builder, which informs everything I design, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm, and I've gone full circle. So basically, I've gone from like teaching designers how to build to teaching builders how to design. So it's really nice to just firmly know. I mean, I'd say like on the design side of things, I'm probably like 90% feel, got all the skills and know how to do it and could do it in my sleep kind of thing. I'd say on the designer maker thing, I'm like way short of that. I'm like, I'm going to go for like, I don't know, 60, 50, 40. So there's so much more to learn. So like there's loads of stuff to learn on the maker side of things and the builder side of things, because I gave the design, 10, 15 years, something like that. And I've only really, there's so much. There's just so much, Jeff.
I know. I mean, I've been building for, how long now? Sort of 10, 12, not quite 15 years. But, I'm still learning.
Almost the same amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of different ways to put different things together.
I think in my mind, I'm still aiming for that, you're an architect when you're 60, you're a master builder when you're 60. There's just so much to learn and to do and to try and to create that I'll just keep going until like one day I'm like, all right, I know a bit about it. We're all good.
Especially, I think with you, I think you're probably quite similar to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not just going to be like a bricklayer, and a bricklayer can sort of master they're doing one thing every day, and they can master that. But I mean, for me, I feel like I'm all over the place. One day I'm doing roofing, one day I'm carpentry, one day I'm insulating, one day I'm doing mud stuff, plastering. I can never master any of those. All I can hope to do is be competent at best.
I'm fully entrenched in the idea that I will be a Jill of all trades as you are a jack of all trades, and there's no way I'm going to be a master of one. Like I'm not going to commit my life to one thing to become an expert in it. And I dismiss any idea that this is wrong and that jack of all trades, Jill of all trades are in any way less committed, because you're so committed to be, like you say, competent at a level where you can understand where the experts are coming from and you can pitch ideas and you can get them involved, you collaborate with them and everything. But you are just constantly striving to be competent in so many different areas. I'll put my hand up. I'm committed to that line of exploration. I don't want to be an expert at any one thing.
Nice.
Actually.
I think we come into our own when two things meet, like a plaster surface meets timber, and suddenly it's like, I know how to do both of those, and that means that if I'm plastering, I know how to detail the timber edge, and if I'm timber framing, I know how to detail my timber, to come into that. And if I was just a plasterer, I might ignore something entirely that the timber can't do.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why the building craft program is important, because it gives those trades an opportunity to understand the other trades. Like you do have to understand the other trades, but I mean, I think we're all aware that in the general construction industry, trades do leave each other alone, and that's where all sorts of problems arise.
Definitely.
But you have to have a knowledge of other things. I just think that what you and I are doing is like enhancing that knowledge by going a little bit down a rabbit hole, and then being like, all right, done that, moving on. And it's like learn something new. And I used to accuse my brother of doing that an awful lot. I used to say that he would do things like a sport, or like learn to play the drums, or learn to juggle, and that he would do it until he was good at it, and then he would just they just leave it. And I'd be like, but you could have gone on to play for Great Britain. Like, mate, what? I used to always say, you just do things until you've mastered them and then you move on. Why don't you stick at them? And I only realised very recently that I was such a hypocrite because I do exactly the same thing.
Just the things that you're doing take a little bit longer to get.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So I was like, oh, sorry, mate. You continue.
As you were. It's actually fine.
As you were. What's your new thing? Great, fantastic. Do it well. Then move on. Yes, quite.
So I wanted to ask you, sort of, with your you have this unique foot in both camps perspective, and I sort of wanted to dig into a little bit of. Well, there's a classic thing, isn't there, of like all the builders on site going, "Oh, bloody architects!" The drawings are missing this, and I can only imagine that the architects are going, "Oh, bloody builders!" And I'm sort of interested to know what, how can we improve both sides?
Well, that's a heavy question. I tell you why it's a heavy question, because for the large part, I'm trying to move on from that. That is a question that probably took a lot of my mind space for many, 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 many years and led me to think that design and build and having to have a knowledge of both is the preferred way, and it makes for better results. And I am committed to that vision, which is why I cannot go back and be on one side of, I cannot be just the designer or just the builder. I cannot watch it happen. It's frustrating. I don't have the answer. Maybe that's why I've moved away from it as an industry. I'm not really involved in the mainstream construction industry because they are the issues. I think conservation seems different because it's a constant conversation, because you don't know what you're going to discover. And the conservation architects have to be constantly involved with the conservationist. I'm not sure if I've mentioned him yet, but basically I've been working alongside a fantastic man called Darren McLean, and he is a very knowledgeable person and has a load of experience. And so with someone like Darren, if he's working on a conservation project, he knows about, at a certain extent, about the lead work and the roofing and some other aspects, but he knows a lot about the masonry and the history and the carpentry and the types of mortars and the types of finishes. And so when he was working on a project, these are in constant discussion with the designer, to want of a doubt. He has to delve in, look at something, send a photo, get some feedback. And often I have found that the architects listen to the trades because the trades know, not more, but they know what they're talking about. And so in these instances, the architects are just taking that information and taking that feedback and directly putting it into words or putting it into a drawing or relaying it to a client or a funder, whatever. And it's less about an architect designing everything to the nth degree and passing over a set of drawings to someone that has to build it to the nth degree that they have come up with. And that is the inherent problem in the construction industry. Like, it should be a conversation, but I'm sure you know all about as a contractor yourself. I know you know all about the different stages and REBA stages, of which these are all like legal requirements. Like, you have to get to a certain stage and you have to provide a certain amount of information. So you can't even, it's not even like designers, it's their fault because the system is set up, and legal contracts that are set up, there's just no room for this. It's just such a huge topic that needs to be addressed, that it needs experts, it needs bodies, as in like representative bodies, and it needs government and councils and building standards and people like that to all have a conversation. And I'm sure it's happening. I'm out of the loop now. I'm sure these things happen and I'm sure they're trying to change it. It's not like any architect I've ever talked to thinks that this isn't the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. So it must be going in some direction. It's just that having been in it for 10 years, I was just like, well, it's not moving fast enough. I can't be dealing with this anymore. I'm off. I've tried my best. And it's so complicated. There's just so much that in I guess dictates it. And a really interesting route that I went down as part of our community interest company, Building Together, was that in order to get hempcrete to be used as a material in Scotland, the local building authorities have like a representative body. I think it's called the LASS, Local Authorities Building Scotland, something like that. And I had a conversation with them about it, and they were really open to the fact that like what they do is they approve certificates of certain products. And when they approve a certificate of a certain product, let's just say Indie Nature have their product, the new product, and they have
up in a loft with them with their installation.
Exactly. Little plug. If they present their certificates and they get I should get this correct, the LABSS. If they get the approval of the local authorities, Building Standards Scotland's officers, then they basically become an approved supplier or an approved product.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, any building control officer in Scotland understands that that is an approved product, so they can, even if they've never heard of it before, they can approve it because they can see all of the details, all of the requirements, the U values, etc., etc. What I was at pains to explain is that when you're using natural building materials such as straw or like clay, they aren't necessarily products that come with their own certification, but they are completely reliable, completely tested. There's all of this information out there. And they were really keen to work with us on that. And it's a shame it's not an avenue I had the time nor resources to continue with. But if anyone's listening and it's interested in it, please get in touch, because it's a whole area where they're not closing any doors. They're very open to this idea that there must be a way to approve materials as opposed to products. It was a wonderfully engaging and wonderfully positive and optimistic experience. So there are ways that these things can change. It just takes time.
It's an interesting thing, that, because I've thought about that a lot, and clay different all around the country. But it takes, and maybe this is just me bigging up my part, but it takes the knowledgeable person to be able to, know that this clay does this and this one, it will react differently. And so you sort of need to certify the person rather than the material.
And that's why the entire thing is completely capitalistic, because it's certifying a product, and the product has to have enough money in the first place to certify it. And when you go down that rabbit hole, I think what happened was a client paid £1,500 or thereabouts to certify a product that wasn't theirs. It was an external company's product, in order that they could use it on their house.
Oh, wow.
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you're looking for all things BMX racing, you've found the right podcast. Here at Lane 8 BMX Podcast, I'll speak to the local racer, the national racer, and even the Olympic level racers. I'm talking kids to the weekend warriors and much more. So get comfortable, turn up the volume, and remember to snap on green.
That was the outcome of something I was involved in, which was just that the product supplier couldn't afford to pay £1,500 to have this, and also had no other. They had no other contracts in Scotland, so why would they? Commercially, I understand it's a business decision, but the client really wanted to use this hempcrete product, so therefore they were just like, well, what do we have to do? And essentially, like, they paid £1,500. This material got accepted as a product. It got approved, but then that expires a year later, and it's probably not a huge amount of money. It's probably like, I don't know, but it's probably like 50 quid or something every year to keep that product in the loop. But they wouldn't. That client had it in their house. The house they moved in. They're not going to pay every year to have hempcrete approved in Scotland, are they? So it is such a strange part of it that has to be in some way attacked, which is just the inherent capitalism built into everything, which is a huge barrier to natural building materials being used commercially. And I think that's why most people that come out of CAT are trying to create products and get funding that work within that system.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do come to a conclusion, which is like, well, let's stop beating ourselves and try and like do it the way they want us to. And so that's where, thankfully, a lot of people have started companies that are producing natural building products that can A, adhere to all those rules, but B, appear on shelves like a normal product that a normal trade can pick up and learn and go on a course to use. And so that makes that more accessible. It makes the transferable skills more accessible. Because if you were to tell a plasterer that he has to go down to that field and dig up the soil, topsoil, then dig down and get the clay proportion of that soil, and then come back and test it before he can use it on that house. And even then he's got to test the different samples in different colours. He's going to tell you to off. Mm-hmm. Like it needs to be something that's sold in a bag and he can just go pick up because the client's asked for that colour. I understand that. Like it's Jeff, we could talk about this for such a long time.
Yes.
Days and days and days. It's so many aspects to it, but there's no quick answer, there's no easy answer. But the good news is that people are trying, and there's no walls up per se. There's no one being like, well, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. It's
just sometimes it's like, that doesn't work. If you can make it do this, we could accept it. And you're like, okay, fine, we'll jump through your hoops. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of in that mindset a little bit at the moment. So I was just saying before we started recording that I've been testing some earth floor samples and with an aim to making a pre-bagged product. You know, here are 3 different colours of earth floor, mix them at home. And just oh my goodness, the steps involved. And I mean, I haven't even got to the like getting it certified bit. You know, like the fear of like, if you put something out there and then it goes wrong for whatever reason, like say they haven't prepared the subfloor properly and it cracks, but then they'd say, well, your product has done this, it's cracked. And so then it's like, oh, I've got to now go and sort that out, and maybe it's my fault. And it's bringing up anxiety in me just sort of chatting about it at this level.
Understandably, because that is all of the barriers. The anxiety is real. The anxiety is valid because these are all of the barriers. And the only way any other product has gotten to this stage is through huge amounts of funding and backing, and I mean, I think that sounds like an amazing idea, but you can't do it by yourself. Like, it's got. I think the industry needs to start believing in itself and backing each other. Like, that needs to be backed by something that says, no, actually you didn't install it to the manufacturer's instructions, and that's okay. We will teach you how. Come on our course first before you willy-nilly install that earth floor.
Yeah.
Like it just, once the ball starts rolling, it will get there. It's just, but I understand that sounds like it would be an anxiety inducing attack.
Yeah.
And it's. And I think all of this sort of stuff, like monetizing and trying to think of these things in their capitalism and a business sense, for me, it's this huge shift in mindset, because I was almost raised to think that at this point in my life, like, we would all be living in communes because this society that we live in wouldn't have kept going and we'd all be living in harmony. Or in some absolute state of chaos before the harmony could, I was raised to think that in my mid-30s I'd have to succumb to all of the ways that capitalism exists and play the game. But unfortunately, it hasn't bloody changed. We are in our mid-30s. And so actually, I've taken a lot of time to understand recently how money and business and products and selling works, because there is a bit of an acceptance I have now of, if you're going to do something, you're going to have to tick all these boxes and be certified and do that sort of stuff. So how can we make that work? And that's no different an explanation of what I was trying to do earlier, which was try to understand how can you get volunteers to build things within the system. So I already put a lot of time and effort into trying to juggle liabilities, insurances, rules, and all this sort of stuff to just understand how you can work within the system to make something work. So I'm sure you will be able to figure that out. If you ever need a hand, you can give me a shout.
Yeah. Open to business partners.
And also that's the thing, like go to fellow CAT students that are having to do this as well. Like that's what's nice about coming into the industry with maybe better values and ethics than being monetarily driven. If people's reason for being here is to create shelfable natural products and not because you want to be a billionaire, then you'd be just as happy sharing your knowledge with the next person that's trying to shelf, I don't know, like handmade bricks or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm sure there's a place in the industry where everyone right now is just like trying to get their stuff, in line with everything they need to do to get it on the market. But then it's a nice world, the social enterprise world, because everyone is extremely sharing. And I've been part of it as building this kit company up. It's really sharing, caring environment. And that's a very nurturing place to be, because it's not like old school, keep it all to yourself because everyone's a competition. It's like, no, competition is healthy and we're going to help you out because that helps us out. So maybe capitalism can just change a little bit and be a bit more ethical. Yeah, I'm a very cynical optimist.
I think that's a very healthy place to occupy.
Yeah, I'm like fully optimistic. I'll have all the enthusiasm, but there's a little voice in my brain that's like, yeah, right. But not of that. Like, yeah, right, the industry's a bit like this. You can't do anything to change it. But then this whole optimistic, like, no, maybe you can do something to change it. Yeah. So
I want to ask you, what are you doing at the moment? Because you're doing something quite interesting.
So at the moment, I have gone back to the Building Craft program.
Nice.
So the Building Craft program for a few years has kind of there's live build proportion of the experience, usually about 3 months, where all the different trades and students come together, and at Dumfries House Estate they will build something. And for the last 4 or 5 years, the something that they have had to build has usually been provided, in that it's already been thought of, they already require it, got the drawings, and we're ready to go. So you turn up and you crack on. There was a change in thought this last year with the built environment manager, construction manager. He wanted to see if there was a way that we could get the students to design the thing that they were going to build. So as this is my specific area of combined interests, and I do live 10 minutes up the road, I was very keen to get involved. And so we created a 2-week design school with the students, where I set a bunch of tasks and I tried to understand like their relationship to design. Like I tried to understand for each of the students, like, what is your relationship to design? Like, are you comfortable with it? Have you done this before? Does it give you the fear? Do you hate doing it in front of clients? Like, where are you at with it? And then I produced a series of exercises in order to kind of pull a creative process out of people, and to get them turning out ideas really fast and dismissing ideas, but coming up with more ideas. And it was just a really good, fun 2 weeks design school, with the purpose and end result that they were split into different groups. And I didn't do this intentionally. It's just that we wanted to see which groups would come out, and there were like a set of groups that were more interested in the traditional design, and a set of people that were more interested in organic design, and there was a kind of in the middle group who had a bit of both. So we split them up that way, and we got them to develop these ideas that they've been producing, that they'd designed themselves. And we ended up with 3 very good designs for, this year it's going to be a bird hide, which is somewhere on the site.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came up with 3 very good designs, and I mean, I was so impressed and so enjoyed it so much. Like, they were really cracking.
And this is from the
really,
the actual apprentices that are going to build it, that did the design.
Yeah, the students that are there, they've been on placements. So this was before they would go on placements. We did this 2-week design school. They all produced a design, so there was 3 designs to choose from. So then they went away in their placements, which they could then like learn more skills from and feel a bit more confident. And now they've come back, and so I amalgamated the 3 designs into one.
Ooh.
Really nice aspects of each of these. You know, like there'd be like that key thing where like, oh, we have to keep that, we have to keep that. And then on Monday we are going to start a sort of research and development week where we prototype a couple of ideas, and then we will get stuck into the build of this bird hide. And I've tried really hard to contain it to there are structural elements need to go ahead, but there's so much room for design. So there's so much room for them to put their stamp on it, to come up with ideas, to be heard. Should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? And hopefully there's enough baggy space around the timetable that we can incorporate all of this. And they can learn from each other's trades, and there's a lot of crossover, specifically in like the research and development week, the R&D week, because there are connections that need to be made, that need to be thought about between the stonework and the metalwork and the metalwork and the roofer, you know, and I'm really chuffed. I'm actually really proud. I'm really chuffed with it. And I really know it's going to go really well because it's all about the experience. It's all about them enjoying it. And it's like the outcome is the product, you know, at the end. But it's a byproduct. The whole thing is like being able to explore and try out your trade. And so it's kind of full circle come back round to what it really should be about. And that's really nice to see. And so far it's going really well. I don't know when this podcast comes out, but obviously it's going really, really well. And lots of us are on social media, we're documenting it and things. But it's very nice to be back, and it's very nice. And my whole thing about teaching, and not even teaching, I'm just facilitating, is I'm just really passionate about people having ownership. It's not I pulled together 3 designs, but it's not my design, it's their design. And I'm not there telling them how to do anything. They're there and they're going to tell me how they're going to do it, and I will only pick a hole in it if I think it's going to fall down, you know. Like it's just so nice to just like give people the opportunity to prove themselves, and I'm really hoping they come out of this and feel really proud of it, and they feel really like the sense of achievement, and it's something that they can show off, like it's something that shows their skills and their talents. However, it is a bird hide and it's pretty heavy timber, so trying to get enough metalwork and clay plastering and stonework was a challenge, but I think we've got it in the end. I think there's some really key pieces that aren't add-ons, because I think in the past one trade has gone for, like, say it's a timber frame building or it's a stone building, and all of the other trades feel like they're just adding, you know, little add-ons that are tacked on, and it's not totally involved or required for the design. But I think we've got to design where this is all needed. Everyone's needed. Their bit is needed. So that's where we're at. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite successful. We had the brilliant Appleton come and do some pre-site culture of working.
I saw your videos yesterday, and I was just so jealous. It's like, I want to be in that.
I mean, I love anything they come and do because it's just so engaging and fun, and it definitely puts everyone in that mindset of like, this is your site, this is our working culture, this is how we're going to treat each other, this is how what we're going to get out of this, and essentially, and I wasn't there for the morning portion, so I didn't want any influence over this, but essentially what they want out of it more than anything is the experience, and that's what everyone gets out of every project they ever get involved in, but this way they have some ownership over the experience, which is important. So yes, it's really nice because it's like a combination of all 3 things. It's my design, it's my teaching, and it's my building.
I'm secretly
I
mean, I'm not it's not a secret if I say it out loud. I am hoping that one day one of the students says, and this should have an earth floor, and I will finally get my chance to come back and be the former
honestly,
student.
Yeah.
I think I might
We
be a
will
bit
get
too
you
much
in
of a
there. We will
liability, though.
No. We will get you in there. We won't mention the accents, but we will get you in there. But no, there was nearly an earthen floor this year, but it's just the practicality of it because it's a bird hide and it's we're building in January and February.
Yeah, it's probably not where I'd put an earth floor.
Hopefully,
but...
but hopefully, if this method and this way of completing the live build portion of the building craft program, if this is successful, we would like, I hope I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone, but I think we're going to try and do it every year. And if we try and do it every year, then I imagine we'll get a little bit more like, not competitive, but like we'll try and like reach a bit further every year and get something a bit more. So yeah, I would like to get everyone back in. Like there's people in my year, there's people in the year before me, there's people I know through it. There's so many people that I like would like to be involved in it. So any opportunity, I think that's also coming out of it, that they have said to me that it's quite important. They're excuse me, you'll have to edit this bit. They're very happy to have someone a bit more local be involved and also more recent of a student.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell there's a bit more of a drive and a push to get ex-students involved. Because why not? Because you come out of it as a little bit of an expert in your field. So there's many experts floating about out there that would love to come back and join in. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a program I totally believe in. Sorry, it sounds like I'm now trying to justify me why you should have another floor or why I should do it. But,
I mean, I justified it to Michael. I was like, this is why I should be involved. It's just something that, like, I think over the years, like, and I probably should admit this on a podcast that everyone can listen to. But I mean, as an architect back in the day, one of our clients was a local developer that's worked in the estate, and like I was very well aware of the Now King's attitude to architecture and small developments. And back in the day, I was a bit cynical about it because it didn't align with what I felt, architecturally speaking. But I did appreciate like that they was giving it publicity and it was giving it like a talking point and things like that. But from a traditional building skills point of view, I have nothing but fantastic things to say about this. Like I mean, his involvement and his enthusiasm has allowed so many people to pursue this as a career, and it is increased the amount of traditional building skills by like so many. And even I live in the area around in this estate, and it employs so many local people. Like I have nothing but wonderful things to say about the Princess Foundation and what they're trying to achieve. And it's really given me this like whole new perspective on traditional building skills and keeping them alive, you know, no matter what it is. Like someone got an award for being the only remaining proper scissor making company in the UK. And I didn't even know that was like a skill that could be done traditionally that was dying.
Yeah.
You know, like the red list of endangered, you know, that's the red list of endangered traditional building skills.
I certainly do. Yes. Yeah. Bicycle making's on there, which I thought, or it was.
Is
I
it?
don't know if it still is. Yeah. I pitched to the Heritage Craft Association. Is that what they're called? That I was going for funding to make a load of podcasts about endangered crafts, and they just sort of said,
nice.
I don't think that's really sustainability based. I think was their reply. I was like, but it is. Oh, it absolutely is. But I couldn't explain
but
it.
But it is.
Like
it's like
the 300 words I had to pitch the idea.
Yeah. No. Yeah, because I think you can get Quest funding as well for stuff like that. There's a lot. That's what's nice about it though, because someone's put an effort into creating a foundation that is specifically looking at it, then other funding opportunity streams open up because people are more like interested in keeping this all alive. So it is quite nice. And Although I'm part of the building craft program, I really enjoy looking in on the arts program because they do such interesting things. You've definitely had people on your podcast before that have done that, like flow, and just like basket weaving and chair making and just so many interesting things.
Yeah. I find it very hard not to apply for that.
Yeah, me too. I asked Michael, am I allowed to apply for that? I said no. Right, fine.
I assumed they might not like me because I'd already done.
Even Michael wants to apply for it. He created the course.
Well, I mean, yeah. That says all you need, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. It does, actually. It's a very good advertisement for it. The guy that created it desperately wants to quit his job and do the course. It's good. It's a good selling point. So that's where I'm at. I've come in a lovely circle, and I don't know what the future holds, but I'm quite excited about it because I know now that I will include all of these aspects, like design and building and teaching in most things that I do. And I would just quite like to continue learning.
I mean, it's why I started the podcast, was a sudden realization.
Is it?
Yeah, that I had stopped learning and I was just doing my thing. And suddenly I was like, but there's so much going on that I want to learn about. So, yeah, the sort of, there was many reasons for starting podcasts, but the selfish element was definitely like, I want to consume all this knowledge. I want to meet interesting people and learn what they're doing and why.
Yeah, well, I've found again, it all comes from this place of like trying to make a living. Like we all have to live, and I've found a lot of conversations in the last little while about that transition from being a sole trader and having things need to make you a living, and then actually, finding a day job or finding the thing that makes you money in order that you can actually spend your time passionately, enthusiastically going. Like, you wouldn't have started the podcast with any support, so you're just doing something because you want to learn. And it's giving yourself that freedom to, because I've always been a bit like, I don't want a real job, it's like, but you need some way of supporting yourself in order to make these moments available to you and not stress yourself out too much. Because I was sole trader for such a long time. I think I've been a sole trader for 10 years. And a huge roller coaster and ups and downs is just basically like needing to pursue things in order to be paid takes away the love and enjoyment out of the thing that you want to do. So sometimes the wisest move is to do something you don't necessarily want to do, but it's within your realms of skills and knowledge and you enjoy it, in order that you can actually more passionately go after the things that give you a huge amount of joy and not have that added pressure that they have to support you. Does that make sense?
Very.
And then you just hope that one day they will. So
yeah. Oh, I think that's incredibly good advice.
I'm a bit on that track right now of like making sure everyone knows it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We've all been through this before. We know what you mean. You know how you feel.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
I wanted to ask you, well, unless there's more to say on that, move on to workwear for women. That's difficult to say, isn't it?
I never thought about that, but yeah, I guess
it's a lot of W's.
Sometimes I type in like women's workwear and then I'm like, where is it? And I'm like, oh yeah, because it's not that. What is it? And I'm like, oh yeah, workwear for women. Get it wrong.
So tell me about workwear for women. Why have you started this?
Well, I'm going to caveat with saying that I was anxious about talking about it because it's one of those like tangents I go down and then I might lose enthusiasm for it in like a week's time and stop doing it. So this is why I was anxious about it.
Okay.
But I actually don't think that's going to happen because I have been interested in this obviously my whole working career. I think this is a totally different topic really. It's kind of it's to do with like what you live in. So you do your job all day every day. So you essentially live in a certain set of clothing. And at some point during your life, you maybe stop caring so much about what's in fashion and what you look like, because it's more about what I actually wear every day. And I guess when I started on building sites, it was just about getting jeans that wouldn't tear so easily, and a hoodie that would keep you warm, and a waterproof that was actually a decent waterproof, because I probably didn't own one even though I grew up in Scotland. You know, it was almost like embarrassing to like catch up on items of clothing you'd never really thought about before, like waterproof trousers. I associated waterproof trousers with my mum and dad dragging me up a hill in the rain. Like, I don't want to wear them. And you're sweating more on the inside than the outside, and what's the point? So yeah, having to buy clothing that was actually practical and actually kept you warm and kept you dry was a bit of an experience that I was learning over time. And I guess it started to shift when I realised that I was doing it more often, and I was actually coming across, that sounds a bit daft, but I was coming up against guys, carpenters, woodworkers, timber framers, and to be honest, they looked kind of cool. Like, they had like their plaid, you know, they had their plaid shirts, you know, and they had rough, durable jeans or trousers and decent boots. And so then it was like, oh, wait, where are you getting this stuff? Like, I want one of them jackets. So it's good. Right, okay, now I need something that's not going to, like, what, you mean you can fit stuff in your pockets? Right, okay, right. So then I, for a little while, bought, like, tradie workwear, you know, like, bought the durable workwear with the big pockets, and bought, like, you know, a fleece jacket that would work with pockets and things like that. But then the trousers didn't fit around the waist, you know, and I had to wear a belt. And I often got, and I'm just now talking to your entirely female audience, I guess, but like I often got like belt burn, you know, it's just kind of like, because your belt's sticking into you, but because the trousers are too big and you actually need it to hold your trousers up. And I don't know, this happened for many years. I never really questioned it, to be honest. I just went along with it. It's just like, this is just what the options are. Like, I've got my big rigger boots that are men's rigger boots. They're too big for my feet, but they keep me dry. I've got my big jeans, but my belt keeps them on. Like, I've got, you know, and I would just maybe wear a tank top or something. And yeah, and then I guess like, oh, I don't know when it shifted. I think the first item of clothing I bought that I am still in love with to this day, and gutted because they discontinued it, is a pair of jeans from Engelbert Strauss, which were jeans, like 7 pockets, like a belt loop for your hammer, specifically aimed at working women. The Europeans seem to have figured this out more than we had, and they were also quilt lined, so they're like, whoa. And they fit. I know, they're quilt lined. They were jeans that were stretchy. They weren't baggy jeans. They were slim fit jeans, waist where they should have been. They were just made for a woman. And I was just in love with my jeans. And I would wear them all day, every day. Probably got them far too many moons ago now. And they have been patched. They have been repaired. They have holes in all the places you shouldn't have holes in, but are inevitable as you're moving around. And I've really worn them to death, and I wanted more, and they discontinued, and I got in touch with the company and they said they didn't do them anymore, and their unquilted version of those jeans are nothing like those jeans. They're nothing. I don't know whether they just outsourced or just took the design elsewhere, but they are not the same. It's itchy, scratchy denim, and they don't fit the same. They're not stretchy. It's just not the same. So I was really downhearted by that. And I guess the shift started when I got really interested in like my Instagram account for building and for women building. I started it prior to the building craft program. I realized I needed to separate my design world and my professional world from this new realm of like going down a rabbit hole of building. And I also wanted somewhere, a portfolio of work to show and prove to people I am a builder. I've done all this in the past. So when I created that, I started following accounts of younger girls, and predominantly in Australia, New Zealand, and North America, like America and Canada. And they seem to have really well-fitting clothing. So I started, you know, going down this rabbit hole of like, where are they getting their clothing? Where's happening? Why did their clothing fit? My clothing didn't fit. Can I get that clothing here? Like, what's going on? And there are quite a large number of pretty well-known workwear companies. We'd know them in the UK, but in Australia and New Zealand, where their entire construction industry is different from ours, like they're very encouraged to do apprenticeships from a very early age. Their uptake in women in construction is much higher than here. They don't have the same inequality, and it has been, I guess, pushed forward. They also, because of that, have a much younger generation of, and plenty more women in their industry who have been harkened on for longer and have worked with these companies and have been producing very comfortable, good workwear gear. And that's where it started. It started there. I got really interested in it. I'm a geek anyway, so I started like, which treasures do I want next, and it really was to, like you said, it comes from a place of selfishness. Like, it's because I want to find out and have the best trousers for me. And I did discover some brilliant workwear brands that I'm now obsessed with their trousers, But what was really nice was, especially when I worked at Outlander, particularly because there weren't many females in the carpentry department, but there were females in the plastering and the painters department. A few people came up to me and were like, Kirsty, I really like your trousers. Where did you get them? And I'd be like, oh, they're Eve Workwear, check them out. And they're comfortable. They've got like elasticated cuffs and pockets and zips, and they cinch at the back so they come in at the waist. They are made for women. And this is where it started. And then I got onto boots because I needed a new pair of boots. And that's where the stream of thought comes from, is usually just like, I would like this, where will I get it? And the more I looked into it, the more I found. And then I realized, well, no one else is looking into it and it's not easy to find. So I was like, I want it to be easy for everyone to find. I want it in one place. And I am coming from a UK's perspective. I think if you live in Europe, there are plenty of companies that provide this sort of stuff. They're much better at dealing with wet and cold weather, even though the UK have had this weather our whole lives. So.
Should be used to it by now.
I know. We just don't produce anything of any ilk anymore. But and the Australian and New Zealand side of things, it was far more geared to summer weather. I felt like they do get harsh weather in the winter, but it just doesn't seem to be as consistent as like all year round 10 degrees and raining in Scotland. So I'm thoroughly coming from the point of view is like, I want to push awareness of women in trades and construction in the UK, because I don't know where they all are hiding. I haven't found them all yet, and I want to find them all. And I know there's just more. I just know that it's on the up, and I am coming from the perspective of like, I want everything to be quilt lined. Like, there are 4 weeks in the summer where like I have to wear a lighter jean, but other than that, I need everything to be quilt lined. Like, I am cold and I am working, but I am also just cold. And I don't know whether that's a women and man thing. Like, and my hands are always cold. We're always the ones that don't put the heating on or don't put the heating on. There is a stereotype here, but it's stereotype for a reason. It's based on. So maybe women need warmer clothing in order to feel relaxed and comfortable enough so that we can physically achieve what we need to do. And yeah, it's been really good fun. It's been really good fun. I started the Instagram page because I was like, I think this is the best avenue for this. I feel like it's a visual tool. I feel like there's a lot of women trades now on there sharing what they do and therefore they will be able to see this stuff. The beauty of it is there are plenty of workwear companies for women who are sharing their products, and the products are tagged. Like, you can then, I can make a post and specifically link the product to their website. And I think that's wonderful, because it's not like you're going, oh, Kirsty's just shared their shoes. Oh, great. Oh, where can I get them? And then you have to go find the website and go for that. I'll just tell you the shoe. Like, you can have the shoe.
Straight there.
And that's great. I was just like, and we do live in a culture which is a bit by now, and I'm a bit like that. Like, if I had seen the turquoise shoes that I have now shared from P&F Workwear, if I'd seen them 3 months ago before I bought my ambers, I'd have bought them. I'd have just been like, turquoise shoes coming up, like, and there is this whole thing about, like, especially with outdoor wear, there's a whole anti-turquoise and anti-pink, female options. There was that for a long time. And I'm quite glad to see that we've got plenty of options now. Like there are the traditional kind of like Carharty colour scheme, you know, woodworking workshop based, and then there are the I need to be outside, I'm high vis, like let's wear the loudest shirt available. And it's great. And there's some absolutely wonderful companies out there, and every day I find out about another one, you know, or not every day, but you know, there's certainly a lot emerging. And it's not even women workwear companies, you know, it is other workwear companies that have a fantastic women's wear range, or unisex stuff like, you know, safety glasses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it all to be in one place. I just want one place where if you type in, you're in the UK and you're like, I need women's workwear, I need women's workwear. It'll take you to one place. Ideally, in long term, maybe there would be a website. Maybe we would be able to kind of drop ship, sell these companies' products through one website, so that you're just browsing all of the products rather than having to filter around and jump around between different companies. And I've been thinking about this a lot, but like, you have to blue sky think sometimes. And I love the fact that you named this Building Castles in the Sky podcast. I was like, this is great. Because I only just came across this term recently and I was like, why have I never I live in air? Because there's a phrase, building castles in the air, which means like a totally like, you know, you always come up with ideas, but you never achieve anything. But I grew up in Ayr, AYR, and my name is Cassels, spelled differently. Like, I was like, why has no one told me about building castles in the air? And this is my perfect phrase. And a lot of my family were like, no, that would insinuate that you don't do anything and you don't achieve or build anything. I was like, yeah, but that's the irony of it, isn't it?
I was pretty sure when I wrote that, I thought, she is going to roll her eyes. She's had a lifetime of playing with that name.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, really, not at all. In fact, still to this day, if you were to play that song in a club and my brother and I were there, we'd be like, this is our song. This is our song. Like, that's fantastic. So yeah, I blue sky think about things. And so again, I've always been hesitant to say things out loud because I generally have so many ideas and not a lot of them come to fruition. But I am learning that actually I manifest a lot of things by putting the idea out there, and 10 years later it comes right.
Yeah.
10 years later it comes right. So my blue sky thinking for this is that it would be a physical store somewhere, ideally Glasgow because it's Scotland, but we have to come south of the border for a bigger city, we will. But, we have to have like a physical store that has all this women's workwear, but also that physical store would then like maybe host, evenings where you could have like a round the table discussion, or like you could have people do some talks or presentations. And I even went as far as thinking like, well, what if you only hired women that were like, say, on maternity leave from the construction industry, or they've done their back in and they need some time, maybe they shouldn't be stocking the shelves, but like just some way of like also making that about women in trades and construction and supporting them by feeding that all back in. So yes, it's gone growing arms and legs obviously in my brain, but at the moment it's just a nice place to like go search a bunch of trousers, share the bunch of trousers. Mm-hmm. Like go share, like, did you know you can get these shoes from here and this boots from there, and yeah, that's what it's about.
And
it's
have
just
them
that
fit
I
and
passionately
be
care.
Yes,
exactly.
All the things that you just
suitable.
Expect from clothing.
Yeah, suitable and hard wearing, and have fucking pockets, and waterproof and warm and dry and fit and look nice, look cool. I feel like I've got to a stage where I'm like feel slightly professional going onto any work site solely because what I'm wearing fits me and doesn't make me look like an over or undersized man-child. Like it all fits, and that's really nice. You feel comfortable, you feel yourself, you feel more confident. So it's all very important.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? This is sort of related, I think, that they only just released a female crash test dummy because they just they just thought, well, they're just like slightly smaller men. And I think that I mean it's proof that this sort of patriarchal it exists, and it needs breaking.
It's kind of mind blowing, really, isn't it? Yeah. Like, it's actually quite mind blowing. there are quite a lot of female related areas or subjects or topics that I go to discuss with people, and I'm bamboozled by how much they don't know. And also, like, you know, and also because it was only maybe a recent revelation for myself, and I should have known that, you know. It's not even any like blame on other people and not myself. Like, some things I learn and I'm like, how come I'm just finding that out now? Like, you know, like, I'm ill prepared for the world here, feeling a little bit set back in the world, but we've managed to achieve a lot, I think, like, considering. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, women, construction. It's good.
Yeah.
More of us.
I wondered if there's any sort of key bits of advice, like anyone that's thinking like, well, I know where to get the trousers. Now, where shall I
learn this?
Yeah.
Oh, just do it. Just do it. I mean, just do it. I think it's always going to be a scary, like, concept to enter a world that you don't see yourself represented in, or you don't know if you'd be fully supported, or any area that you're in the minority is going to feel a bit awkward and odd, and you're going to have to navigate it. But just reach out and try and find people that you can latch on to. Just find people that you can ask, because it goes back to that thing about the social enterprise, like, you know, world being quite open and sharing, and the same as the natural building industry and the traditional building skills. I think people are under this false impression that if you ask something, you're being a pest. And actually, I think most people want to help. Most people want to share. Most people want you to strive and you to get the best out of things just as much as they do. So just find another female that you know, or find a male that will be like, that's fine, I'll look after you. Come on, you know, like it's yeah. There's no men versus women in the workplace unless it becomes an issue. So don't let it be an issue. Just approach it like you would. There's 20 other women there, you know. I mean, my most recent experience was probably the biggest and most striking contrast, and I found it rather amusing because some men in our company would change their behavior. So there would be, you know, a bunch of swearing from beneath me, and then I'd hear that, wait, guys, there's a lassie up there. Come on now, let's, you know, get the language curtailed, you know, come on. And they knew I was listening. That's, you know, they were saying it, but I would sort of smile a little bit, and I think previous me would have been like, oh no, I don't fucking care, you know, like, and I don't care, like, swear, don't swear, use local language, it doesn't matter to me. I also have a really, really terrible low level of humor, so it kind of suits me, to be honest. I have a terrible, that's what she said, sense of humor, but arguably worse than most of them. But they don't need. But what I decided this time around was they don't need to know that. I don't have to. If my presence makes them feel uncomfortable and makes them feel like they should change their behavior, then that's on them. If they feel that their behavior is not proper around someone else, then, and they feel inclined to change it, that's on them. I'm not asking them to change it. I'm not insisting they change it. And I'm also not trying to protest too much that they don't change it. You know, I'm just going to be. And if by just being, you change your behavior, there's no reflection on me. That's you. Like, you obviously feel the need to curtail your behavior. And then they would figure out very quickly that I didn't care, and they'd go back to normal. So we're all good. And equally, if it turned out I did appreciate that, they probably would have kept it up. So it's about the individual. It's not about, oh, there's a female on site, we all have to stop being funny. Like, no, it's about individuals. I'm sure if there was a guy who had turned up and was like, guys, can you just not? Like, that's too much. They'd have made fun of him for a while, but they probably would have curtailed their behavior because they're not assholes. They're just being themselves, and you got to be aware of who's around you. So, yeah, I have a probably more unique view on this issue than most, because I have personality traits that I would say are welcomed in a typically laddish environment, but I am against like the toxic masculinity that comes with that banterful environment. And I'm not even necessarily just against it for women. I am actually quite vehemently against it for men. I think it's a very unhealthy place for men. And so sometimes I don't mind being the only woman because I think it gives the other men a break. So
totally.
Yeah. There's a lot of place for us women. So if you're feeling like you've got the trousers, you've got the boots, and worried about it, don't you worry, you'll find your place. Like there's a lot of need for us, and we need a balance. Even the men know we need a balance, so don't let them tell you otherwise.
Thank you so much to Kirsty for taking the time. We had a lovely, lovely natter. As per usual, there is a whole host of links in the show notes to the things we've discussed. Make sure you check out Workwear for Women. And if this was your first episode, make sure to head back and check out all the other episodes, nearly 100 now, covering a wide range of sustainability topics. That is it from me. I hope you're well. Until next time. See ya.